Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a long Easter weekend, so I forgot to click the button. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit the refresh button. If you're watching live, I just now enabled monetization, which, it allows pennies to accumulate into dollars and dollars into paid bills. So if you could hit refresh, I would greatly appreciate that. Yeah, I'm supposed to do that before the program launches. We know that. So I suppose in my haste, I clicked the button a little too quickly. But all is well. We are live. Hello, Trash Panda in Rumble. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Please consider a monthly subscription on Rumble, YouTube, and Patreon. It helps make the world go round as we get all of our feedback loops up and running. I think we're good to go. So let's begin. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere outside of where there was a daring rescue of a U.S. military pilot. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Monday, April 6, 2026. And this right here that you are watching is called the TNAM Daily Show. TNAM stands for the New American Media, because the old American media has failed you. We'll put it up in the corner of the screen. Yes, we're going to talk about Easter reflections. We're going to talk about perhaps President Trump's most unhinged tweet yet. What should we make of this? I've seen all sorts of reactions. And so I'm curious, that's a question of the day. What do you make of President Trump's tweet? So in the comments, hit QOTD. I think Trump's Truth Social post, comma, ... Tell us in the comments, please. And then, of course, we're going to try to figure out what happened with that daring military rescue. You never want to leave somebody behind. So, buckle up, grab a beverage, and let's begin. Today's TNAM Daily Show starts now.
Your guide to the truth, thenewamericanmedia.com.
Thank you so much for being here. Let's pull your chat up on the screen. Hello, John. Hello, Marion. Everybody share the show out. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the like button on the program today. Of course, my playback device. There we go. Finally working. Everything's a little wonky after this weekend, but it was a weekend of reflection. I'm going to play you something from Maynard James Keenan, the lead singer from Tool, Pussifer, and Perfect Circle, A Perfect Circle. It's interesting about the meaning of Easter and finding Easter eggs and the equinox and what this all means. It also means I didn't have this light on. This is what happens when you're your own producer. But yeah, Izzy had expressed an interest in wanting to go to the big caves, the Mammoth Caves. So we went. and they showed all sorts of things, ancient, hundreds and hundreds of years of exploration. And there was an area where church services were held in this big cavernous, cave. I mean, cavernous. And we were there on Easter. So it just kind of gets you thinking about being entombed and then rolling away a huge stone or something like that. And just the concept of church. And I had attended a Good Friday service. I don't attend church very often. So just a lot of reflection on what it all means. So curious, another question of the day. Did you do anything on Easter? Did you? Well, just anything, any reflection. But yeah, it was a lot of, and then one of the tours was a lantern tour. And I mean, you're just going through the darkness with a lantern, the pitch black. It's pretty wild stuff. It just sort of reconnects you. They say go out and touch grass. Well, how about dig, hundreds of feet into the earth? Makes you feel sort of insignificant. Like your time on this planet, it will be finite. I mean, that one part of the tour where the lights were turned off completely, and it was the blackest black, darkest dark you've ever experienced. That's a feeling. That's something that hits you. So that's what I did this weekend. I'm curious what you did. Tell us in the comments. Question of the day about Trump. Lake Leon says, I don't have any problem with the Trump post. I'm with him still after all they've done to him with the lies, the impeachments, the arrests, etc. A lot of people feel that way. There was a movement to make it seem like, oh, everybody's abandoning Trump. Well, is that the case? We're going to play you a CNN poll in a moment here, directly addressing that. But let's get into the stories from the weekend. If there's something you think we should cover, one of the best ways to do so would be to share a post on our X account. I could probably show that to you right here. Share it to our X account. We are at American_media_. You can send it as a message, or you can tag us. You just make a post and tag at American_media_. And we'll try to combine that content sometimes with our programming. If it's stuff we should look at, we look at a lot of this stuff together. Not a huge value in looking at things twice. So a lot of this show is, yes, I do watch things, and then I also go, oh, this looks interesting already. Let's unpack it on the show. Yeah, sometimes you get a couple dud stories, but we try to find fun stuff, important stuff, relevant stuff, underreported stuff, misreported stuff, and give you a scatter shot. That's what the New American Media has been about for the past 15 years. So let me toss this up on the screen as well. At the bottom, I told you can do Rumble Rants and Super Chats, but you can do Venmo, Cash App. That's my name, Brian Engelman, and PayPal Fuzz Installment at yahoo.com. All those are scrolling at the bottom of the screen. I am your bartender here. Let me take this off for a second. That's not what I was doing. It was the opposite. There we go. I'm your bartender. We're going to talk about all the stories on the TVs, and I have the tip jars out. So if you want to leave something, please do. This is me playing the guitar on the street corner, trying to pay the bills doing it. So until we get the full ad reads and the corporate sponsorship that's going to say, you really shouldn't cover that story. I don't know about the way you covered that. I don't know that I can support you financially anymore. And you go, ooh, it sounds like I'm beholden to somebody else. Well, the cost of being truly independent media is your support. So thank you to everybody who has and everybody who will. Now, let's get to the side-by-side story. This is the big one that people were talking about. I'm seeing more and more of this dude, Asmin Good Gold, or what's his name? Asmund Good? Volume, here we go. What's his name? Asmund Good. Okay.
French general at Trump's plan to build a runway inside of Iran and fly out uranium under active bombing.
Okay, wait, I apologize. This is maybe the second post from this dude. But have you heard this one? Building a runway inside Iran mid-bombing leads... Here. The French official then accuses Americans of...
American officials should stop snorting cocaine between meetings. The Americans can do things that the French need cocaine to even imagine. I can't even imagine it, bro. They're like, wait, what?
The Americans can do things the French need cocaine to even imagine.
What do you mean they built a whole base? Like, what are you talking about? A French general at Trump's plan to build a runway inside of Iran and
that's what some people are saying about President Trump right now, that off the rails, unhinged. Cocaine, cocaine, cocaine. Okay. Maybe so, maybe not. All right. Let me go to the next one.
a French general.
The the moon launch project, always a good time. Either we went to the moon or we didn't. Tell me in the comments. Are you a mooner? Are you a denier? Tell me how crazy you are. Are we in a flat Earth? Have we been to the moon? Is everything a lie? Just tell me in the comments. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what's right and wrong. Patriot Warrior out of his X account. I don't have an X account, but howdy anyways. Thank you for breaking my brain on that one. All right. Seinfeld fans. You know this meme. Here's the astronauts. We're going to the moon. Around it. What was the scene? This was 6 games or something. They're bragging about we won the World Series. Yeah, in 5 games or 6 games or something like that. Yep, it was 6 games. You're not going to the moon. You're going around it. Stop. I did say that when I started learning about the project. I said, well, why aren't we going to the moon? Why can't we just go there? But apparently they're just getting a feel for things. Oh, are they? Nothing weird about that. In 6 games. I love that one, though. Okay, I don't know this account. Montaga, Antoine Tucker. Says, I'm sure if the presidents were eating humans, cannibals, there'd have to be somebody who knew about it. Right? From the Epstein file.
Presidents, right?
Chef to the presidents, let's see, 11 years, 94 to 05, 7 years of Bill Clinton, and
4 years of W. Bush. Yeah.
Former White House chef Walter Scheib found dead after Walter Scheib. Let's take a look at this one. Walter Scheib. Anthony Bourdain, Tafari Campbell. Okay. Trying to confirm that with here, let me ask Grok. Because I know about Tafari Campbell, Obama's chef, which was weird. Executive chef 94 to 05 under Clinton and Bush. Passed away June 13 of 2015. Discovered a week later, 8 days later. Near the Yerba Canyon hiking trail in the Sangre de Cristos Mountains. I've been there. Holy shit. That's where the Earth ships were. Close to Taos Ski Valley, New Mexico. Body found partially submerged in a mountain drainage ravine stream. flowing with surface runoff from a recent thunderstorm, about 25 yards off the main trail, hidden by dense vegetation and a steep rocky decline. Drowning, accidental, no signs of foul play. He went hiking alone, might have intended a fishing trip, light windbreaker. No personal items found near the body. Vehicle located at the trailhead. Heavy thunderstorms hit the area that day, likely causing flash flooding or sudden runoff and drainage where he was found. Cold water temperature in the ravine helped preserve the body, which made it difficult to determine the exact time of death. Girlfriend reported him missing. It received renewed attention years later when it was compared to the 2023 drowning of another White House-related chef, Tafari Campbell, but official investigations in both cases found no evidence of anything other than accidents. So if you see this story, you should be aware.
Found dead after a 5-day search and rescue operation.
Huh. Yerba Canyon. Yeah, I've been over there.
For an autopsy, the medical investigator reports sheep drowned in his death.
Officially an accident. Okay. Impossible to determine exactly when.
A girl, Tafari Campbell, dead in a pond at Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts.
Martha's Vineyard. Tafari Campbell, the Obama chef. Nothing weird about that. Great Pond. He fell while
Boarding close to the Obama's estate.
While paddleboarding. Average depth of 3 to 4 feet. I heard it could be like 8 to 12 though. So if it's average 3 to 4, that doesn't mean it's 3 to 4. It can go 15 or 20, and then it could go to 1. But when they're showing this video clip, I don't know if that's him. No evidence of trauma found on Obama's chef. So if you hear those rumors, a second Obama staffer was paddleboarding with the ex-president's chef. So 2 Obama staffers. And that's who called 911 ultimately. The curse of White House chefs. Okay. Well, it's mostly accurate that those stories occurred. But no evidence suggests foul play, of course. All right, President Trump sent out a message. This is not the controversial one, but this one from President Donald J. Trump. We got him. My fellow Americans, over the past several hours, the United States military pulled off one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history. For one of our incredible crew member officers, who also happens to be a highly respected colonel, and who I'm thrilled to let you know is now safe and sound. This brave warrior was behind enemy lines in the good old shoe from Wag the Dog. Good old shoe behind enemy lines. In treacherous mountains of Iran, being hunted down by our enemies who were getting closer and closer by the hour, but was never truly alone because his commander-in-chief, Secretary of War, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and fellow warfighters were monitoring his location 24 hours a day and diligently planning for his rescue. At my direction, the U.S. military sent dozens of aircraft armed with the most lethal weapons in the world to retrieve him. He sustained injuries, but he will be just fine. This miraculous search and rescue operation comes in addition to a successful rescue of another brave pilot yesterday, which we did not confirm because we did not want to jeopardize our second rescue operation. This is the first time in military memory the 2 U.S. pilots have been rescued separately deep in enemy territory. We will never leave an American warfighter behind. The fact that we were able to pull off both of these operations without a single American killed or even wounded just proves once again that we have achieved overwhelming air dominance and superiority over the Iranian skies. This is the moment that all Americans, Republican, Democrat, and everyone else should be proud of and united around. We truly have the best, most professional and lethal military in the history of the world. God bless America. God bless our troops, and happy Easter to all. In the comments, Iranian here. We are happy for him. God bless the USA. Leave no man behind. What a great start to Easter Sunday. Of course, you can't go 3 comments without something about Israel. And a second post. So 2 out of the first 5 posts are about Israel owning the United States. But hey, that's a good story, and I'm appreciative that those military members were returned. How about that? Okay. Easter horror, unfortunately. Bad story here. Truck plows into a Christian procession in Pakistan. 60 plus injured, multiple deceased in a reported Islamic terror attack. All right. Comments. They're killing us globally and we are silent. We need to face reality. They will never stop persecuting Christians. How sad and horrible. Innocent Pakistani Christians celebrating Resurrection Day, and this is what happens. Typical. Multiple reports pointing to a potential terrorist attack. Let me ask Grok what the latest is. Just quick overview, bullet points of the Pakistani Easter attack. It's theoretically possible it could have been an accident. Easter Sunday, early morning, April 5, yesterday. Punjab province, Pakistan. Sunrise procession near St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church. Truck driven at high speed deliberately rammed into a large group of 200 Christians participating in an Easter sunrise procession. The worshipers were singing, marching, and holding candles while heading toward the church. 4 in critical, several deceased, still trying to get it figured out. Suspected targeted attack on a Christian religious gathering. Authorities investigating as a deliberate act amid ongoing concerns about violence against religious minorities in Pakistan. Heightened fears of insecurity for Pakistan's Christian community during religious holidays. The most recent report differing from the major 2016 Easter suicide bombing that killed 70. Still developing, no group claimed responsibility yet. Well, prepare accordingly, people. All right, here's one I'll label under fan fiction. Shadow of Ezra says an army whistleblower claims he once visited a secret civilization on the moon. He says its inhabitants travel in egg-shaped UFOs and that he personally flew in one. He also alleges the deep state possesses Stargate technology capable. I guess let's take a listen. Alex wants to know. Is that the name of the show? What is this? Liberty? What is this? Redacted?
Talk about was the moon base. And I've heard from whistleblowers, U.S. Air Force whistleblowers who've been transported to the moon base. And I don't know. I know you can tell me. I think there are multiple moon bases from what I understand.
Yeah, there is multiple moon bases. There is an arc on the moon as well.
Underground?
Underground.
What do you mean by arc?
I think it is visible.
It is visible.
Yeah, I think.
Is it on the dark side?
It is in between. I think.
Do we know where on the moon?
We do know where. And I think,
maybe you could. Do you have any idea specifically? Like, if I'm looking at the moon, because a lot of amateur astronomers are going to want to dial this in.
No, I do not know the exact location. Well, I can't give out the exact location.
Okay.
There's a lot of different countries involved. I know that.
Different countries involved is the claim. What is this? Here's one, the Carl Wolf story. Former U.S. Air Force Sergeant top secret crypto clearance, allegedly 1965, while stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, is working as precision electronics photograph technician. 2001, he testified at Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project at the National Press Club. Died in 2018 in a bicycle accident, struck by a tractor trailer. Some view that as suspicious. I don't know if that's the one they're talking about, but we're going to the moon, so let's listen to this fan fiction and tell me where you land. Tell me what you think is going on.
There's another.
Jorge Pabon.
I don't know if this is the first time people hearing this, but there's other people living in the moon that look Indian looking. And they got these egg-shaped crafts, and they're connected to ancient India. I can tell you that. and they're living in the moon, and they visit Earth now and then. And I think we have captured probably these egg-shaped crafts before, and I talked about it way before me interacting with a guy. His name is Lovint.
Lovit. Okay, I think I found this guy. Our retired U.S. Army paratrooper, quartermaster, served until August of 24. Pseudonym JP. Shared claims with Michael Sala, Dr. Michael Sala. Okay, yeah, December 25, 4 or 5 months ago, redacted with host Clayton Morris. That's what this is. Yeah, there's something going on with disclosure. They seem to be really ramping up to something. Skeptics dismissed as unsubstantiated, noting lack of physical evidence, documents, or corroborating witnesses. Some online reactions labeled the claims as exaggerated or implausible. No official U.S. military or government confirmation exists. This is all from Grok. Supporters view testimony as consistent with other secret space program claims, like ancient structures and human alien collaboration, hidden lunar activity.
And sometimes he picked me up in this egg-shaped craft as well.
And you believe he was an ET?
I believe he's a MT.
An MT. a moon terrestrial.
Yeah.
A moon terrestrial. Wow. And he looks Indian.
They look Indian.
Yeah.
They look Indian
So he would pick you up in this egg-shaped craft. Is that egg-shaped craft similar to what was recently revealed in that News Nation report a few months ago?
Yes, sir.
Almost identical?
Yeah, identical. I think, yeah. It looks similar. Yeah.
The pilot described that crash retrieval as being overwhelmed, like an overwhelming connection spiritually to this thing.
Yeah. They're really spiritual people. They still have their traditions. They're really spiritual. Like they're way advanced because they implement the spirituality with technology.
Right.
So cool.
So you were transported to the moon how many times?
I remember once.
Once. And it was just you individually or with a group of other members of the
group of other people.
In this egg-shaped craft?
No.
In a different craft?
It looked like a TR-3B.
Okay.
This triangular military craft that we have. Yeah.
Do you remember how long it took you to get there? Was it near instantaneous? Was it a few minutes?
I blacked out and I opened and it was there.
A U.S. Air Force whistleblower we've had on the show talks about her experience walking into almost like a Stargate facility, which would be in a small room, and walking into a Stargate facility where they've been transported to the moon base. Does that exist?
Yeah.
He says, yeah. I don't get into a lot of these stories on this program, but having come up through the Coast to Coast AM world and digging around on these and writing about the moon and being fascinated with the subject and ancient aliens, I love the story. I'm not going to tell you it's right. I'm not going to tell you it's wrong. I'm going to tell you what people are talking about. Do I believe that there's stuff out there? What does it matter? Is it possible? I think it's possible.
We have, on different bases, we have massive technology that even a ship can go through this gate and end up somewhere else.
So yeah, I think they mean India, the country. All right. Pretty interesting. Now what is this? A modern day Dexter story. How do you feel about this one? From Fox Local. Where is this from? Florida? No, Kentucky. So who's Kendall? I don't know who this is, but I am following. Story out of Kentucky. Here you go. Have you heard this one yet?
His arrest report accuses him of printing out a list of convicted sex offenders who lived near him and picking Coley Lee Daniel. Clay Jones told his girlfriend he killed Daniel with a baseball bat, used a cleaver, saw, and knife to dismember him, placed the body parts in separate suitcases and bags, then hid them in the compound, but not before keeping a microscope slide with biological matter.
Particularly with serial killers, you'll hear people keeping trophies or reminders of the crime. But I've actually never heard of someone keeping like a DNA slide. I've only seen that on Dexter.
Court records show Jones doesn't have any criminal history outside of being an aggressive driver. Right now, Jones is being held in jail with no bond ahead of his hearing. His arrest report accuses him of
Okay. This comment after seeing so many terrible stories in the news, she says she's surprised there aren't more vigilantes, more Dexters, if you will. No bond. How many illegals get bond after murder, drunk driving, assault, all sorts of things? So yeah, I don't know. How do we feel about that? Someone being judge, jury, and executioner. I'm not saying what he did was okay, but I understand. That's that famous Chris Rock bit from Bigger and Blacker about OJ.
His arrest report.
Look at these.
All right. Let's take a focus on birthright citizenship. Michael Carbonara shared this one. Big topic. We're trying to get some Supreme Court clarification to figure out next steps.
These numbers. Eric Eggers, I spoke to him Saturday. There are more than 500 firms in China that facilitate people coming from the Chinese Communist Party to give birth here in the United States. Obama enabled this through loopholes dating back to 2009. And what that could mean is 1 million new voters by 2030. Imagine that. Communist Party voters.
Well, at that point, it becomes.
Look at these numbers. Eric Eggers, I spoke to him Saturday. There are more than 500 firms in China that facilitate people coming from the
Americans. Yeah, we are being overthrown. They are using our system against us. Loopholes. Yeah, There's a coordinated strategy under Obama. Things have changed drastically since 2008. And I mean, over the course of the past several decades, it's not like he's some mastermind. He was the puppet master. He pushed a lot of this.
Look at these numbers.
The plan was there before him. The plan is still there after him. I mean, I guess he's still involved in the Democrat Party. Maybe he's their de facto leader, but, seeing the blowback of his third term with Biden as the puppet at the end of his strings, in his administration strings. I think the American citizens have pretty much had just about enough of him, but we shall see. And that's the ongoing conversation. Should President Trump get a third term? Should they change the rules so that he could have a third term? You've heard that. He jokes about it, or he's honest about it. But then they say, oh, well, good, then Obama will run against him and he'll beat him. Will he now? We'll play you this new CNN poll coming up here. Okay, Emma Mitchum reporting this. Where's she? Okay. A 45-day ceasefire proposal between the U.S. and Iran is on the table from Egyptian, Pakistani, and Turkish mediators that includes reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The UAE is offering support to keep the waterway open. Trump isn't bluffing about power plant bridge day, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Stay tuned. Not entirely certain how that's going to shake out. And a lot of these, how could you possibly know? So I'm not going to head for the hills and start running around like my hair's on fire. I'm not doing it. Sort of let some of these things play out is probably the best way. Let's move over to our X feed and see what else is playing out in the world. By the way, pinned at the top of our X feed is our conversation with John B. Wells. This is our Patreon link if you want to click there and become a monthly subscriber. Set it and forget it. We usually make about 2 posts a month. So, your continued support over there is huge. And that's the easy way to do it. Just go to X for the New American Media. All right, let's get some detail. We got a few posts here. I don't want to go too much, but let's start with this one. Trying to get the overview of what happened with the U.S. military pulling off, perhaps, says Gunther Eagleman, the most daring combat rescue mission in American history.
And we are back waking up to the miraculous news of the rescue of the second American airman deep within the mountains of Iran. And we are waking up and bearing witness to what is likely the most daring, successful combat search and rescue mission, or CSAR, that the U.S. military has ever conducted.
I mean, if it is that unusual? You know, that's the question. How usual is this? It's just a matter of what gets publicity and attention. I mean, if this was one of a kind thing, you'll be seeing a movie about this, is my hunch.
So let's walk through that for just a moment. And remember, every time a mission to strike takes off for those pilots, the CSAR is in place. It begins with a mission to locate, authenticate, and recover. That's what they do. So the first thing they do, the incident occurs. This F-15E Strike Eagle goes down in the Khuzestan southern province in Iran. That's when the two pilots eject. Because of the fact that they were hit with the missile, they eject and end up in different locations. That's why the first airman, the pilot, was rescued, but yet the weapons systems officer that's now been rescued, the second guy, had to climb up 7,000 feet in a ridge. Now,
yeah, I mean, they have to be wearing tracking beacons. And I think when this first started, there was that video of that pilot that parachuted down, and they were in like a bad spot, and someone said American, and then like everything changed. But like, God, that was like a month ago, wasn't it? It's amazing how time flies when you're covering stuff, when you're covering military operations.
Awareness and notification likely played a huge role. The beacon or the receiver, the radio beacon signal, so that the U.S. could pick up, was both in the canopy and in the seat he was in, but then also on his person.
Yeah, you would imagine that's exactly how you design the system if you want to look after your people. That's good. Everything's working as expected.
Every airman has that. That played a huge role. The reports are that the CIA also was involved in the location before special forces went in. This
CIA was involved. What was that? CIA?
Huge role. The reports are that the CIA also was involved in the location before special forces went in. So in the situational awareness, once they were able to confirm the approximate location, they used special forces, Delta guys, SEALs, and the CIA doing a misinformation to throw the Iranians off.
Okay. Misinformation, disinformation. That really is what the CIA does. It's the calling card. Unfortunately, we saw with Obama, with all of those traitors, when they were actively subverting the will of the people and essentially running a coup on President Trump. You know, I don't know many people who really care all that much what we're doing to protect America and Americans when it turns inward to devour 60, 70% of the country, to put in, no, we said this puppet is who we want there, and we're placing them there. You know, that's way out of the realm of what the Central Intelligence Agency is supposed to be doing. And Obama weaponized it more than, I mean, how far back do we have to go? Who took out JFK? Who shot Reagan? You know, why was Richard Nixon impeached? How many non-deep state actors were taken out? So look, anything that comes to the war, oh, well, Trump said this. Oh, I can't believe he said that. Oh, the France thinks we're on crack. We need to 20th Amendment, President Trump, he's lost his mind. He's saying this and he's saying that. He's contradicting everything. Yeah, there are smoke screens, smoke signals, smoke screens, smoke and mirrors everywhere during war. And that's everywhere. That's Ukraine, Russia. That's Israel, Hamas. That's Iran, U.S. It's to be expected. Not surprised at all by that, which is why I don't really see the need to freak out over any particular comment or, oh, he said this and I can't believe it's going to be that. And yes, there is a very public global campaign happening now. And there's many different agenda items people are seeking, many different agenda items.
To get to where he was, and then the mission had to be planned and executed. Now, that included helicopters, jets. It even included, as we were deceiving the Iranians with a misinformation campaign, leading them to believe that the airman had already been rescued and was in a land route exfil or extraction that was sending the Iranians towards that area, and we were striking them all the while looking for the real location. The complex coordination between intelligence services and multiple special operators is marvel. It's unbelievable that we've ever had that, but that is what they were able to do, and they landed our forces in Isfahan, which is the nuclear site area we've heard so much.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, when you're in the middle of something like this, I'm monitoring the situation. There's only so much you can do to cover every piece of information, misinformation, disinformation. It's sort of like, well, maybe so, maybe not. Maybe we should just kind of let this thing play out. Because a lot of people lose the forest for the trees. You get so wrapped up on some close-up thing, you're losing the bigger picture. Directionally, what is this story telling? But now, I mean, some official stories have emerged now. Oop, here we go.
About in Iran, it was struck in Midnight Hammer last summer, and now we put our forces in there, and the execution of the mission, sending in however many we will eventually learn, at least 100 or more special operators able to get in there to reach in a cavernous mountains to
Hey, I was just talking about cavernous mountains, wasn't I?
get this airman. We had to use the para-rescue men, the Air Force's PJs. They are the
Pararescue jumpers.
unsung heroes, as Colonel Dan Rooney said earlier, because they have skills to go in to this mountainous area, rock climbing skills to reach him. And remember that this brave airman was seriously injured, so we don't know what condition he was in, but he likely would have had to have been put on a litter and carried out.
Yeah. So it turns out there was some injury there. Not sure what that entails yet.
If he could not walk himself. And then there is the reintegration, right? From the extraction to the safe zone. That's where, guys, I will tell you, the war colleges at West Point, at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, will be studying the CSAR for years, because not only did we get our man, we got out with an enormous operation without a single U.S. casualty.
It was apparently expensive in treasure and, weaponry and planes, but what's more valuable than human life? Okay, bold tactics, insane bravery under fire. They brought our downed airmen home safe from enemy territory, says Gunther Eagleman. Michael Weiss shared this. Details about the rescue op for the U.S. Weapons Systems Officer via U.S. military official, allegedly. Who's Michael Weiss? ISIS Inside the Army of Terror. Next book. He's an author. 270,000 followers. The mountaintop area on the left, right here, is the WSO, where the WSO was hiding. He ejected 5-ish miles northwest of there. The right area is the makeshift landing strip where they landed 2 C-130s and had 4 MH-6 Little Birds. One little bird flew to that mountaintop area and rescued the WSO and brought him back to the landing strip. And of course, the 2 C-130s nose gears got stuck in the dirt. So after a few hours, they had to bring in 3 AFSOC-8s to fly out the rescued WSOs and the 100 or so personnel involved in the operation. So that's what it was. That was that they were trying to build landing strips in the desert during a war. And France couldn't understand that. Not super surprised that France couldn't understand it. Here we go.
So they're thinking that they're going to be rescued. There's nothing less than full faith in and our brothers and sisters. I mean, I was bleeding out of 4 limbs with a punctured lung, and I never thought for a second people wouldn't take care of me. We had Army helicopter pilots. We call them dust off.
He was bleeding everywhere. Joey Jones speaking.
And they would land on top of a bomb to come get us. There was no fear in them when it comes to saving their brothers on the ground and sisters on the ground. In this situation, this type of search and rescue, there's so many different capabilities.
And they're showing it right here, like the southeastern border of Iraq on the western side of Iran.
The Army has capabilities. The 160th is probably, from what I read, the 160th Special Operations might have been involved in the one recovery, but the MEUs off the coast there, the Marines, train for this. That's exactly one of the main capabilities they train for if they're called into this. The Navy has their own version of it. The Air Force does as well. And so one of the reasons why you're
special ops
hearing there aren't other sorties happening is because you want to have all those resources available when somebody goes down. So you make that the mission, because if another aircraft goes down, then that becomes the mission. And you don't want to multiply the what you're going after.
Yeah. You got to be super careful that you don't become an additional liability there.
The ejection seat used, the ACES 2, has multiple explosive hazards in it, even if it functions correctly. So there's a lot of dangers, a lot of complicated systems. I mean, we just watched folks launch to the moon yesterday.
Allegedly.
When someone launches out of an aircraft with an ejection seat, it takes, I think, maybe 18 Gs of force to get out of that aircraft with the catapult system. Then you've got a rocket under that seat that rights the seat before the basically a slew.
Yeah, I guess just thinking about the technical components of how you get a pilot out and safe. You don't really think about it. You just hit the eject button and you're just out. You go, no. There's a lot involved with that. You go, I guess there is. I haven't spent a ton of time thinking about it.
A slug gun throws a parachute in the air. So there's all these things happening just for someone to land safely from ejection. And it sounds like both of these, the pilot and the weapons officer did that. But then when you approach them, that ejection seat itself is a hazard. And so the amount of training and expertise is just so impressive. And the fact they've already recovered one of them, hopefully maybe they have or are about to recover the other, it just speaks to how well we train, what our capabilities are. And honestly, guys, the fact that they were doing these search and rescue missions low and slow in the same area in the daylight tells me they do have air superiority. I mean,
and that is what the president said, and that's what this guest is saying. Joey Jones is saying.
You can't forget that the Mujahideen took out Soviet MiG.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds like a good story there. This is Trey Yingst on Fox.
I just spoke with President Trump for 15 minutes. He gave me some new details on the negotiations behind the scenes with the Iranians and what's going to happen. Spoke with President Trump for 15 minutes. He gave me some new details on the negotiations behind the scenes with the Iranians and what's going to happen if Iran does not make a good faith deal. The president tells me if they don't make a deal and fast, I'm considering blowing everything up and taking over the oil. The president went on to say you're going to see bridges and power plants dropping all over their country. Now, I asked him about.
I mean, you have to wonder about that is a threat or a promise or a strategy. If you do something like that, do you end up losing the support of the people that said, I want my country back? These guys, these radicals came in and stormed our country and have been oppressing us and abusing and beating the shit out of us and disappearing our friends and family and forcing us into submission under their Islamic supremacist regime since 1979. Those people are generally loudly on the side of this operation in support. But if you start damaging the infrastructure that's going to harm the people, well, that steps away from a military operation, of course. Then it gets into, well, Ron Paul would call that blowback. You end up making enemies out of people that were supporting you. So the question is, how serious is President Trump about all this? It's all a negotiation. You throw something so large on the table, you go, well, why did you just paint a picture of a purple gorilla on the table? Well, now you're thinking about a purple gorilla on the table. Now, if you want me to remove this purple gorilla, then, we can talk. But otherwise, this purple gorilla in this green Godzilla. Oh, by the way, there's two of them, purple gorilla, green Godzilla. They're going to attack you and just ravage. Why would you do that? Purple, green, gorilla, Godzilla, you know. Like, well, no, we don't want that. All right, well, then I'll put them back away, but you're giving me these things that we're talking about. No, you just said that. I'll bring them back out. And so Trump creates things to negotiate off of. You've seen it. It's a pattern. It's how he negotiates. Are they going to destroy bridges? Are they going to destroy power plants? Will the Strait of Hormuz open? That is the question right now. And once again, guess we're just going to have to wait and see how it plays out, aren't we? We got a commander-in-chief. They're running an operation. We'll see. Am I super gung-ho and confident that this is going to work out perfectly? No, I couldn't be. Am I super gung-ho and confident that this is the worst idea ever and this president needs to be removed from office? No, not at all. Maybe so, maybe not. I'm going to wait and see. Lake Leon says Iran is like our Democrats. We have to tell them one story while we do the other thing just to get anything done without it being leaked. It's sad and true. That's a pretty fair point. It's the misinformation, disinformation, because there's a lot of moving parts. There's that Strait of Hormuz, there's Karg Island, there's the general infrastructure. After that, there's the next ruling government. There's what to do about this interim government. The people being armed? That was another question about arming residents of Iran. Some people surprised, and I'm like, I'm not surprised. I've been hearing that's been on the table for years, right? It's been widely talked about for the past few weeks, I believe. There's a lot of armchair quarterbacking right now and second guessing. And it's like, we're not even in the fourth quarter of the game. I mean, like we're seeing how this is carried out.
The possibility of an agreement with the Iranians. He says those who are negotiating on behalf of Iran have been granted amnesty at this time so they can continue the talks. And the president tells me he thinks he'll be able to get a deal by tomorrow. He says, I think there's a good chance tomorrow. They're negotiating now. All of this following the president's post on True Social, where he talked about these negotiations with the Iranians. We'll pull this up. He says, quote, Tuesday will be power plant day.
Tuesday will be power plant day. That's tomorrow.
And bridge day, all wrapped up in one. In Iran, there will be nothing like it. Open the effing strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. The president posting there on True Social about this ongoing operation,
including the Allah comment.
And his new red line for the Iranian regime. Now, the president also provided new details on what happened earlier this year as the Iranian regime took to the streets and slaughtered what the president tells me is 45,000.
I'm sorry, that number of 20,000 is now 45,000?
Slaughtered what the president tells me is 45,000 civilians in their own country. After that took place, President Trump told me the United States sent guns to the Iranian protesters. He tells me we sent them a lot of guns. We sent them through the Kurds, and the president says he thinks the Kurds kept them. He went on to say we sent guns.
They sent guns, and they think the Kurds just kept them instead of giving them to the people of Iran.
To the protesters, a lot of them. And so a number of headlines here from my conversation with President Trump. All of this taking place more than a month into Operation Epic Fury and in the aftermath of that successful U.S. operation overnight to rescue that stranded U.S. service member inside Iranian territory. The president himself ordering that operation after the CIA came on Saturday morning and confirmed that they located where this crew member of an F-15 that was shot down on Friday was located. Again, the president making that decision to send in hundreds of U.S. special forces deep into Iranian territory and successfully retrieving that U.S. service member. I just spoke.
Okay, I mean, pretty good job given at least their version of the wrap up there. That's a lot to take in. What's this? And he's justified in these actions, says Greg. Since the 1979 Iranian Revolution, the Islamic Republic of Iran and its proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, Iraq militias, etc., have been responsible for the deaths of more than 1,000 Americans, 241 U.S. service members. I'm not sure if this is all true, these numbers, but I think the 1,000 Americans is true. 603 U.S. troops in Iraq from 2003 to 11, Iranian-backed militias. A state sponsor of terrorism's ledger. Asking Grok if the numbers are accurate. Embassy bombings, Khobar Towers, October 7 attacks, other proxy actions. Largely accurate based on U.S. government assessments, declassified Pentagon data, and historical records. Though the overall total of more than 1,000 American deaths since 1979 attributed to Iran and its proxies involves some aggregation and attribution judgments that vary slightly by source. So it's directionally true. All right. After the epic Easter rescue, Trump is back in full maximum pressure mode. Here's Trey talking with the group.
Now this amazing rescue, I mean, really on the level. I mean, we thought we were impressed with the Maduro rescue. I mean, this is yet another rescue that has left the world in awe of our military and our special forces. And frankly, not just of our president, but of Pete Hegseth, our war secretary, who would have taken the blame had anything gone wrong here. And therefore, he also deserves the credit here. Now.
All right. Gaina Fauci just reminding us what we came from. I don't know. Trump is so blustery. Okay. Well, I mean, we should probably go back to these days. Trump's making up numbers.
Over $1.3 billion. Trump.
That's a lot of dollars.
Over $1.3 billion. Trump just talks the talk. We walk the walk. Look.
What?
Over $1.3 billion. Trump just talks the talk.
Yeah. Over $1.3 billion. Crowd goes wild. Thanks for that one. This is just you know, someone going bonkers, committing multiple felonies on camera.
Fuck y'all bitches. Y'all bitches gonna die in this shit.
You see yourself on Instagram.
Y'all add me, a lot of people on Instagram. The baddest bitch. Oh. The baddest bitch.
All right, we'll see how that plays out. Jimmy Failla says, Failla? Who's Jimmy? I know this name. TV host, radio host. Can't believe Trump told Iran to open the fucking strait. I miss normal times when Biden would say things like, exactly. Wall Street Apes reporting here. Indians proudly declare they've taken over Frisco, Texas.
I came here on H-1B 2004. Everybody was Americans. But the fast forward, now you don't see any Americans.
This is Frisco. You don't see any Americans in Frisco, Texas. H-1B visa in 2004. Everyone interviewed declares their allegiances to India. They also say they're running for office and voting for their own Indians. This is insurrection. This is the overthrow of the United States government. Why are people with multiple HB companies registered to one address donating to Frisco's first Indian mayor? Okay. Wall Street Apes giving a deep dive. Go take a look at it. In case you missed it, New York Post says Paul Pelosi took out 2 PPP COVID relief loans for $711,000 and $996,000. Both were forgiven. Just so you know. Toby here says the word expert in media has come to mean pundit with Davos liberal talking points. Elon agrees. Let's check in on New York. Mayor Mamdani, according to Paul Spula, says he's instituting more of his systemic racism against people in New York City who aren't black or brown.
And while today's true cost of living measure confirms that the affordability crisis touches every corner of our city, we know that these effects are not applied evenly. So often, it is black and brown New Yorkers who are hit the hardest. This preliminary racial equity plan is the first step in developing a whole-of-government approach to tackling that reality. It is a plan that lays out these first steps to solve decades of neglect and discrimination, and it places the work of 45 city agencies within a singular framework. And while today's true cost...
How fantastic. He says today's true cost of living measure is the first step in his racial equity plan, reducing disparities. Reality, according to Paul, says Mamdani is implementing blatantly racist policies, rewarding and punishing people based on their skin color. Whoever becomes the new U.S. Attorney General needs to immediately prosecute Mamdani for his clearly discriminatory and unconstitutional governing. That's from Western Lensman on X. Apparently, Chicago. Eric Bocci reporting. Street takeovers.
Watch out.
They don't have enough on-duty officers to deal with youth street takeover. Leftist Mayor Brandon Johnson has a whopping 150 officers to guard him, though. Typical Marxist leftist behavior. He resigned. Look at that. We own the street. There's street fest. The libs of Chicago. Good grief. I'm just curious about these people driving right up on top of this. Why do you want to get close to them? It's the rule of stupid. Don't go stupid places with stupid people do this. I'd be turning that car around going the opposite way. But what do I know? All right, CNN, our people, how are they feeling about Republican Democrat? Let's check in and see if that matches what you've been hearing.
Look at this, net favorability. Party ahead at this point, midterm of years with the GOP president. In 2018, Dems were up by 12. In 2006 on net favorability, which party you like more? Dems were ahead by 18. Republicans are actually ahead on net favorability at this point by 5 points. So Democrats are just simply running behind their previous benchmarks, and they need to be running well ahead of them if they want to take back the United States Senate, given that map.
To be clear, both parties are wildly unfavorable right now. However,
Democrats are even more unpopular than Republicans.
Yeah, so this might be a case where the Democrats are just so unlikable, untrustworthy, incapable, incompetent, malevolent. Just might accidentally help the Republicans into keeping their majorities or expanding their majorities. We shall see. Eye Patch McCain has a question for you. And Elon says enough is enough. This is a good question from, I think he got ousted, right? He's gone. Dan Crenshaw.
My daughter's going to grow up with a father with one eye. And at some point she might say, you know, I want one eye. Right? I identify as somebody with one eyeball. Which, by the way, is far less important than your gender, just physiologically speaking. And so if I take her to the doctor and I say, can you just enucleate that eye for
enucleate
us because she identifies as a one eye, she wants to be just like her dad. What would the doctor say? They'd say, you're crazy and I'm going to have you arrested.
Uh-huh. So why aren't we doing this with other stuff? This is just for a hang on, I'm trying to read this. Psychological or physiological? Physiological intervention. There's too much music. That is far less important than your actual gender and your reproductive organs. We have to stop this madness, he says. It's gone on too far. What evidence is there that there's a benefit for these so-called standards of care? I mean, anyone can say they have a standard of care, but it has to be based on some kind of evidence in research, and you find very little to no evidence that there's benefits for this. Maybe you just press pause, he says. Maybe you just press pause. Because if we're doing permanent physiological interventions to children that have permanently been disfiguring them for some hope of a benefit that is not conclusive, maybe we should press pause. Is that a fair perspective? I think that's a fair perspective. Out of concern for the person. Check out our Friday show. Pam Bondi out, Todd Blanche in as Attorney General, but will he be even worse? Check out that show. Christian Pakistanis speaking out after a terror attack against a Christian procession.
Praise
to them. Elon says restore Britain is the last and only hope to save England. Rupert Lowe, MP, says important Restore Britain news. We're now well over 90,000 members and on track for 100,000 within 2 weeks of the party's launch. I'm asking for your help. A big push to get us over the 100,000 line. Yeah, Europe is worth saving. A deep dive from Ben Stein in 1979. That rhymes. Describing how television is an actual engine of cultural demoralization, arguing that a small clique of producers and writers pushed a left-coded inversion of reality onto the public. They despised traditional power centers and hated figures like William H. Buckley. Tragically and hilariously true, says Elon. It's 8.5 minutes, but go ahead and check it out. El Salvador President Bukele says they are worried about the human rights of the killers. Talking about the justice systems. What about the human rights of the women who don't want to be AR'd or the kids who want to play safely in the park? Exactly. Stacey is right, says the Brits surrendered their firearms in 1997. Less than 30 years later, they're being arrested for Facebook posts. That's not safety. That's the speed of tyranny once a government knows that its citizens can't push back. When people are disarmed, the state no longer fears the people, and when governments have zero fear of the people, they do whatever the hell they want. History proves it over and over. An unarmed population is a compliant one. The right to bear arms isn't just about hunting or sport. It's about the final check against a government that forgets it's supposed to serve, not rule. The Second Amendment isn't about muskets. It's about maintaining the balance of power between citizens and the state. Never give up the means to defend your liberty, because once it's gone, the slide into authoritarianism happens faster than most people expect. May this never happen here. Well said. Speaking of sliding, here's a guy that looks a lot like Jesus in 1980s. Walking on water.
Oh my God! Jesus Christ!
He goes, oh my gosh, Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ!
That's just funny. I don't know why. Oh, you know what? I didn't share the clip from Pussifer. Maybe I'll end with that. Let me see if I have that. Reports about ticks being deployed as bioweapons in the United States. That's concerning. Here, I'm going to share one more story on Instagram. I know I had this story, but I don't know where it went. Gentry Gevers saying U.S. level. Here, I'll just play this for you on Instagram. Anyway, you should look up Maynard James Keenan post on Easter. It's several minutes long, but it was kind of interesting. I don't have it in my hand right now. I'm pretty doggone certain that I... Can't find it. All right, well, so be it. Chinese-American brother and sister duo accused of planting a bomb at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa Bay, Florida on March 10th were born in the U.S. to Chinese illegal aliens. Their parents, who illegally entered the U.S. in the late 90s, or in the 90s, had their asylum applications denied in 1998 and remain in the country illegally for decades. The parents were arrested by ICE on March 18 and remain in custody. The parents were arrested 8 days after. Wow. This incident comes as the Supreme Court is actively considering President Trump's executive order aimed at restricting birthright citizenship. The order seeks to limit automatic U.S. citizenship for children born on American soil to parents who are neither U.S. citizens nor lawful permanent residents. Do the right thing, SCOTUS. All eyes on it. Why do we have so many Chinese in our country, asks Laura Loomer. Most of these Chinese immigrants are spies. I don't know if most of them are, but why are we allowing anybody to just join the organization of the United States? Doesn't seem smart. Kind of been revisiting the movie The Passion of the Christ, a very brutal movie. But that was part of the reflection too, is just how mercilessly and disgustingly Jesus Christ was just abused. And that was part of the reflection as well over the weekend at Easter. This earth can be a rough place, and that bad people can do bad things. And, if they can do it to a perfect person, never committed sin, the Son of God, he can do it to you. You're not special. But are there morals, principles, ideals, and values that you hold dear that you want to cling on to? And what do you do with that? Are you going to have to face persecution? This might be a good time to go back and watch it. I saw Mel Gibson discussing a sequel to The Passion of the Christ. Mel Gibson warned actor Jim Caviezel that playing the character of Christ was going to be difficult, and he'd probably be marginalized out of Hollywood. Joey Manarino says, currently doing my taxes. In other words, I'm figuring out how much money I'll be sending to Somalians, illegals, and pedophiles. Man, it's just disgusting. Cernovich is putting out there, Harmeet Dillon always seemed to me to be the obvious attorney general choice. If this isn't locked down, she's definitely someone most supported by the base. She was the lawyer taking on cases for Andy Ngo. And when San Jose allowed Trump supporters to be violently attacked, she sued. Yeah, Harmeet Dillon would be great, wouldn't she? DC Drano says Dillon is one of the only Americans, Dillon was one of the only lawyers in this country who fought against COVID lockdowns and vaccine mandates during the COVID hysteria and won. She's battle-tested, fought for conservative values and constitutional rights when it was difficult, and has a track record of winning in deep blue California courts. Now, as Assistant Attorney General, she has almost single-handedly taken out DEI policies in academia and corporate America with her DOJ lawsuits, and she's aggressively cleaning up voter rolls nationwide. She would make an incredible AG. Perhaps. And Kurt Schlichter reminds us over the weekend, don't forget that a non-insignificant number of Democrats were hoping and praying to their pagan weather goddess that the Air Force pilots were K'd, or better yet, captured by America's enemy. Think about that. All right. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. A lot of news to sift through. And we're going to get some more. I will reserve the right to locate that Maynard James Keenan video and play it for you tomorrow. It should have been where it was, but it's not. I'll wrap with these final two stories because there are two more that I just located while trying to seek out that other story on Instagram. But hit like, hit subscribe, share. Here, wait, hold on. These stories did not load. Okay. We'll end on these two stories. Share this again on Instagram. So what is this? Gentry Gevers, U.S. leveled Iran's bridge, the B-1 bridge in Karaj. I just want to refresh this. Yeah. It wasn't just close, that was like in the blast radius. Free flying. Two more, three more. Please. And you'll see this civilian infrastructure is not fair game ethically. Some people say have fun pretending to be Christian on Sunday. And I, of course, see this video and go, I don't know the context or where or when this occurred. And then the other side is that now they can't move missiles across there now. That these were targeted for specific reasons. They're supply lines. It's war. What do you expect? We'll see how it shakes out. And I think this was the one I thought I was sharing from this Asmongood.
Lose all of this to rescue one pilot and call it your greatest military success of all time.
That was a post from this Daniel, this French person, saying, you lost these things. You lost all this to rescue one pilot, and it's your greatest military success of all time? Really? Says the Frenchman.
I've noticed a lot of foreigners who seem to not understand why we'd risk hundreds of lives, spend millions of dollars, and sacrifice several aircraft to rescue one guy. And the reason they don't understand it is also the reason that they can't be made American by a sheet of paper.
Did you catch that? You sort of have to grow up in it and understand what it means to be American. You don't just get a piece of paper and become American. You don't just exploit some fucking loophole. Oh, I'm claiming asylum. Oh, my two non-citizen parents technically birthed me on U.S. soil. Haha, I'm here. I'm an American now. No, it's more than a piece of paper that determines being an American.
Oh, boy. Oh boy, oh boy. I love to hear it. There it is. Absolutely. And everybody knows it.
Yep.
Everybody fucking knows it. Yes, absolutely. Patriot, guaranteed, certified, 100% fucking patriot. No man left behind. That's right. Lose.
I love that post. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Thank you for being here. Back again tomorrow covering the stories. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with a friend. Remember, we have Rumble rants and super chats and any other way to tip scrolling at the bottom of the screen if you like doing such things. I hope you had a great Easter weekend to reflect and recharge. Maybe working around the house and the yard and getting caught up on things. I know I have been. Jeez, I have been. Ugh, I have been. So many things. And it's a lot of projects that's just like, you've known you needed to do it for a while, and it's like, I'm finally going to do it. Okay. And it does. It takes way too long. But it is what it is. We got to be grateful for what we have. And I'm grateful that you show up and that you enjoy the program. So tell your friends, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you, David. Thank you, Marion. Thank you, Lake Leon. Thank you, John, everybody. Signing out on behalf of everybody out there in the TNAM universe. I appreciate you. I love you, and we will talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. America.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.